New on Curiosity Stream. How do you connect a 16th century potato to limitless energy production? Could Napoleon's toothpick have a direct link to a machine that predicts the future? And how can a 1700s conch shell chart a course to humans connecting their brains to the internet? James Burke's visionary series Connections returns for a new generation. Experience all new Connections. With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
When I was diagnosed with cancer, it felt like my whole world came tumbling down.
Patient Advocate Foundation is here for you, providing free one-on-one practical support to patients with a cancer diagnosis. Call us at 800-532-5274. Patient Advocate Foundation can assist in navigating disability benefits and health insurance options. PAF also helps in accessing vital services, medications, and financial resources for both medical and household expenses. Visit patientadvocate.org or call 800-532-5274.
Now, so let's return, shall we? This is something that's been entirely thought up here by James Holley. He, the Fraser of migration here in the Good Morning Portugal community, the banana slug. And you're entitled if... ...
Yes, something along that line. And that's the key thing with mindfulness is be aware of your sense of it. Chances are we all have it. So it's not... like you can't feel entitled. It's just be aware that it resides, and be aware of how you want to choose to express it or not under your circumstances. So that's the key thing. If you're new to Portugal, be mindful of your entitlement and see if you can keep it quiet. That's the general overarching. Then I say, hint, you might feel entitled if you assume they will speak English. That's one. Or you make no effort to at least try to speak a little Portuguese. There's a sense of entitlement. They should speak English. I speak English. English is the best language in the world. Why don't they speak English? Which goes to saying things like, well, back in, and I'll use reference to the United States since that's where I'm from. Back in the United States, we had it, or it was this way or that, so much better. Back in the United States, it was this way. Statements like...
Hold on, but at that point,
yes.
we should add that insert country of origin. It's not necessarily back in the States.
Yeah, I try to point that out. I'm using it in the United States because that's mine, but you apply it to any country you're from.
Yes,
it's making a reference to back home, wherever that is. It makes, according to that, it makes no sense. That's another thing I'll say. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
That's an entitled statement.
Yes.
Or a suggestion, even if it's meant with the notion of being helpful. Wouldn't it be better to do it in a different way, behave differently, more like in my country or where I came from, right? Things like, if only they could fill in the blank. Pretty much if only is a clue. It's kind of like Brene Brown says, no empathic statement has ever started with at least. No. So, I was never treated like this in the US or in my country of origin again. I was never treated like this there. Well, you're not there. They're not Portuguese. You're in Portugal. These people are Portuguese. So they're going to behave differently and treat people differently than they do there. So get over it. You're not there. I might have should have saved this one for last, but I thought it was kind of funny when I thought of it. Why aren't they open? It's the middle of the day. Yes. Yeah, well, it's lunchtime, but they're a restaurant. Like
a phrase that comes to mind is "making wrong," and like Brene Brown, I think you said, there's so much in language, isn't there, that can make things wrong without actually explicitly saying this is wrong or I don't like it.
Yes,
and a whole pile of inference or is it implication? Probably implication, isn't it?
Well, and a certain frustration that it's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you're saying. And the last observation I came up with today is akin to that, which is you might be entitled if you think and or behave as if you know a better way.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if it's true, at least for you and what happens in your home country.
Yeah.
So ultimately, because I always like to state things in positive ways, or as opposed to what don't do this, is try doing this instead. My mindful suggestion is that you behave as if you're a guest in someone else's home. Mm-hmm. Let the host complain all they want, but just listen, do not join. Ultimately, be kind, be respectful, relax, and enjoy. That's what I had on that one.
Now, we like that a great deal. We like that. And is this a good time to ask questions, or have you?
Absolutely, yeah. That's all I had. So
right. Well, we this might even get typed out and blogged, because it's really great and funny as well. Because I mean, these could even be acted out as brilliant little vignettes, couldn't they?
Yes.
We could have American Gumpers here acting out in the most stereotypical representations of fellow countrymen. Someone like Jess standing outside a closed shop in Porto, asking this question of a passer.
It's only 11 p.m. Jeez, what's wrong with them?
We can have a lot of fun. We can have a lot of fun with this.
No. Well, I have noticed, speaking of mindfulness and self-awareness, and it became it popped up again for me on Saturday as I was taking the train up here. There was a group of 4 to 6 Americans who were seated just across the aisle from me. So I could hear everything they were saying, the conversations they were having, the observations they were making, and nothing was horrible, but I found myself just going, oh, I hate being around Americans. And I said, well, that's a rather extreme, reaction. And it's not true when I go to meetups, but just in this circumstance, I was reminded of, because they'd say things like, oh, isn't that cute? And, they're just talking about, a beautiful boat in the river or something. I was like, ooh, look at that. Just all the sort of tourist things that are just like, I wish I didn't understand what they were saying. Could you speak Portuguese, please? I wouldn't understand a word. So there, I've noticed in myself a certain lack of tolerance for especially the new experience American sort of. This wasn't even entitlement. They were just being them. So I'm being overly critical. I'm aware of that. But I noticed there was a certain energy in me that kind of cringed a little bit, embraced a little bit.
That's the thing, though, for sure. It is. What is it? It's like the discomfort of seeing your fellow countrymen and women behaving in a way that you don't want to be associated with. And I'm sure there is a psychological term for that, and there's no doubt a Pfizer medication for it as well. But I that's definitely a thing, isn't it? Is seeing your fellow country people, like behaving in a way you think, oh, I've got to start speaking it in a language or walk away here because this is awkward. This is really uncomfortable. It's prickly.
Yeah, well, I have one example that I think will stick with me forever. It occurred in Ericeira. We were in the pasteleria that we go to pretty much every week, familiar with the people behind the counters, have friendly back and forth. They know I'm learning Portuguese, and they've learned to accommodate me and listen patiently and correct me if I need it, or ask me to say it again, or for me to ask them to repeat it, but to say it more slowly. Yeah. There's that familiarity going on there. And this was during the high season last summer. And I think it's true of everybody, but we don't know, because we only know our own native accent, because that's what we grew up with. It's like, oh, yes. I recognize that's. And for me, I can hear an American 3 blocks away, partly because they're overly loud, and the other part is the accent is so clearly not anything else. It's like, oh, yeah. I know the sound of this. So I noticed this young woman approach the counter, and something about how she appeared, how she was dressed, I don't know, something subtle I didn't really know. I said, I wonder if she's American. And the very next thing, I was like, absolutely clear. It was the epitome of being entitled and rude. because
Yes.
she's just stepped up to him and in English without any effort, any understanding whatsoever that they might not understand her. She just said, yeah, I'd like, no, she didn't even say I'd like, she,
Can I get? Can I get?
a coffee and one of those. And I just went, you don't represent me. Go away. I felt like I needed to step up and just go up, and kind of push her away.
Like, get in between them as like, this is not how I would like to be represented.
Yes. And I realized I'm probably a very short-term tourist, there for 3 days in the high season. And I'm sure the people that work in Ericeira and other places to get large English-speaking tourists just figure, okay, this is what we get. We'll put up with it. I mean, nobody behind the counter even looked like they were bothered. But
quite. Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, what would you say as a psychotherapist about being bothered on someone else's behalf? Because that's what's happening here, isn't it? And I definitely can sympathize with what you're talking about. I'm hearing "Hola, bon dia," from a British person down the road. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. And this is going to be awkward and difficult. And it might not be. It might be that my equivalent, Nelson at Cafe Palmera, isn't bothered in the way that I'm prickling quietly about, bristling. Actually, that's the best word, isn't it? I'm bristling away, thinking this person could really make a much better effort here. I'd even help them if they asked me. But I'm not liking how my country of origin or my kind of people, who are not actually, as it turns out, my kind of people, are representing me and themselves here. It might not be a problem for them. We're projecting, aren't we, in that instance?
Yeah, my experience so far of the Portuguese culture is they notice like everything. They don't miss anything. You have a very slight different pronunciation of a vowel sound. They hear it.
True. That's so true.
They hear it. They know what's going on, but there's something in the culture that says, in this circumstance, it's not my place to correct or to, whatever. Now, I think if someone was really rude or being threatening, they would, they'd stop that right now and say, you can't talk that way. Get out of my business. Well, yeah, I'm not going to spend my money here. So please don't go away.
Yeah.
Vai dar banho o cão.
Yes.
Go bathe the dog. Get out of here. Leave me.
What did he just say to me?
I'm memorizing that one, so I'm working on it because it just seems like so perfect.
Oh, we've got the name for it.
Oikophobia. Okay, I don't know what that. Yeah. I don't know if that's a real thing or something that Andy made up, but I don't know what it is.
It seems like appropriate at 10 o'clock to throw open the phone lines for this specifically. And I'll pick it up and run with it. You may want to go and look at Espino, but I will take calls on this.
All I got to do is turn around.
True, but I mean, you want to get out and about that. You want to get that cowboy hat on.
I can see that beautiful ocean.
Yeah. But if you want to call in about this after 10 and how we can, and I think we need a part 2 of this because there are many more questions I want to ask you about this situation. And there was one thing I wanted to ask you specifically about, and thank you very much, My Dog Smells, who you can see is a supporter of the channel as well. Really appreciate that. I see you, My Dog Smells.
Go bathe it then.
Hola, bon dia, Carl and James. Love these Monday morning conversations with James. Thank you for saying so.
Thank you.
Now, if you are with people, and I find myself with Portuguese people on a Thursday evening, we're doing the Expats Portugal webinar at 7:30, and then we've got the Dream Team, where it's become more apparent that the likes of Gilda and Nuno are saying, but this is Portugal. And they're being slightly, let's say, to use your analogy, we're in their house with them. We're asking questions about how to get into their house or to enjoy life in their house. And they'll get to a point where they're a little bit embarrassed about how CEF are responding or how the bureaucracy is. And they'll say, well, this is Portugal. And you're suggesting that you don't necessarily agree with those self-criticisms or pile in at that point with your own. Is it a trick question sometimes, do you think, then, when a Portuguese person is slagging off Portugal, you don't step in at that point and join in with all your beefs?
Well, I had an experience years ago once of asking a woman when she was due. And I was a bank teller and she was a customer. And she looked at me and said, I'm not pregnant.
Uh-oh.
And I said, I'm never asking a woman that question again for as long as I live. I don't care if it looks like she's got 3 basketballs in her stomach. I'm not going to ask her when she's due, because there's a place where it can feel rude. And again, talking about triggers, I was on her. I just asked a question based on what I thought I had seen. Yeah. And when I look back at it, she was understandably not happy with the question. Yes. But the reason I bring it up is I have that same kind of caution now when I'm being mindful. It's like, what are my circumstances? What are my surroundings? Where am I? Oh, I'm in Portugal. Who are these people? Oh, these are a group of Portuguese people having a lively, enthusiastic, and occasionally heated conversation about how things suck in Portugal. Yes. I could easily jump in and go, oh yeah, and then this, and oh yeah, and then that, and they would all recognize it, but they would probably look at me and tell me to go bathe the dog.
Yeah, it's a bit like, you can't tell someone their child is ugly, but they can. They could say that if they want.
Yes, they can talk about their stuff all they want. So it's become a habit for me when I'm seeing this go on to just listen. And that's easier because I do a lot of listening anyway, because I can't join in verbally. So I try to just hear what I can hear. So mostly I'm listening anyway when there's a lot of Portuguese being spoken.
Yeah.
And the tendency is, if there's a group of 4, all 4 of them are talking at the same time. So it's almost impossible to hear.
And that's not a criticism.
No, it's just that would fall in the category of observation. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just I'm saying I struggle because I can't understand one person speaking to me, much less 4 people all speaking at the same time.
I think we've all been in that scenario. Whiners will whine anywhere. That's deep thought of the day tomorrow, possibly there, Suze. Maybe T-Duck's writing that down now. Roger Scruton. I always want to say Roger Scrotum whenever I see Roger Scruton. And I'm sure he's fed up with that. Roger Scruton coined the term oikophobia, which is oikophobia is related to domatophobia, and ecophobia is an aversion to a home environment or an abnormal phobia of one's own home, and also a tendency to criticize or reject one's own culture in praise of others. I think we've got a new phobia here. I think it's slightly different, but I get your point, and thank you for that.
Phobia is a little strong. It's not like I'm going to lock myself in my house because I'm afraid of it. But yeah, I understand the sense of it, and I understand the joke. Yeah.
Thoughts on the correlation between mindful and minding your business? We see this is where maybe we go next week. When is it okay, and how is it best to criticize or construct?
I can address that quite simply right now. If you don't know, keep your mouth shut. If you don't have a clear answer, just don't say anything. Like, why aren't I compelled to say anything at all? That's just ego needing to express some part of itself. This is never necessary.
Oh, we got to have a part 2. I like that, but I think there's a part 2.
When in doubt, don't hit send.
Okay, very good. This is going to be a great conversation. So you're entitled when, ... We've got the list. We'll publish it somewhere, and we'll pick it up again, because I have been saying recently, I'm not the Portuguese Pollyanna I used to be. There are things that could clearly be improved, but I don't mean that. I honestly don't mean that from an entitled point of view. I would like to respectfully put that forward for the greater good. Or am I finding a passive aggressive way of being critical by dressing it up in those lofty terms? We don't have to answer that right now, but I think we could pick it up next week, James. What do you reckon?
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It's great with me. It's just a matter of either me taking a note or you taking a note. Because
we'll have forgotten by next week. Maybe
next week it's like we were going to talk about something. What was it? I don't remember.
I don't know. Who cares? Two eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use in those proportions,
or less. Yeah.
Yes. Teach what we need to learn. Only kidding, Andrew. You can look, and here's Antonio defending the indefensible, not in a bad way. How about, where's the 24-hour Walmart? Bless him, Antonio F saying, well, you can get some 24-hour shops, mostly in highway gas stations. And really, there's no need to appease these people.
Well, he does point out very few.
Yes, yeah, okay. And small convenience stores in Lisbon, Porto. Other than that, only police stations, hospitals, and the on-duty pharmacy. Yes, that's true. For those of you who might say, where's the 24-hour Walmart? If you do feel that level of entitlement, what Antonio might be saying here is that you go into a police station and ask for anything you want any time of day, and they'll find it for you. Like hot dogs, maple syrup, anything like that.
Well, there's two parts of Jess's comment. One is the 24-hour thing. The other thing is the Walmart thing. And Walmart has, in American connotation, has this sort of reputation of being the least expensive, huge warehouse box store that people go to, and often it's associated with people of lesser economic means and potentially less education. So Walmart has a lot of connotations to it that go with the comment, where's a 24-hour Walmart, right?
Oh, I see.
So that it's a double thing.
Well, a lot of judgment tying up in our little humorous aside. Humor's such a good way to deliver criticism, isn't it? Okay. Hi, James. You've had an invitation. We're going to say goodbye to you and have a lovely time in Espinho today, James. So good to talk to you this morning, as my dog Smell said. Love these conversations. You've been invited to Ponte Lima by John and Pam, and you've also got a lunch here. Hi, James. I owe you a lunch. I owed so much last time in Ericeira. I had not intended you to pay. Lunch in Ponte Lima in the not.
Sue, you owe me nothing. The pleasure was mine, truly. I don't offer to pay if I don't mean it, and I never expect to be paid back. So,
all right. Well, let's see what Suze has to say about that. She might have to tie you down and force feed you lunch and then pay for it. All right, James. Fabulous to talk to you. I'm going to take to heart what you said about evil spirits and your psychotherapeutic angle, and we'll throw open the phones for a bit of Iberian FM phone-in along these lines. If anyone wants to talk about it some more, this sense of entitlement, and also, are evil spirits still relevant, or what are they in 2023? I think we've got a visual dad joke before you go, and the remains of the other dad jokes as well, I think. We did this one, didn't we? I just opened a flower shop. Business is blue. If April showers bring Mayflowers, what do Mayflowers bring?
Pilgrims.
Well said, sir. Very good.
I've known that one since grade school.
Man, I'm not going.
I thought I was so sharp.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to the May Day parade today. My friend says it's perfectly safe, but I see a lot of red flags. Just in case you weren't here earlier, that is for you on this very special May Day. And then finally, what's this, James? And I can reveal as you speak it.
Someone ripped the 5th month of my new calendar. Ripped the fifth month out of my new calendar.
All right, let's have a look.
I'm dismayed.
Oh, yikes. It's the groaner we need.
And I love it. The part of what makes these funny to me is just the visual. It's always the same 4 pictures, but he's just going.
Oh, yeah. All right. What are you up to today then? Are you going to go and put your shirt on a bet in the casino next door?
No, I've got about 5 hours before my train back to Lisboa. So I will, and I check out of here in an hour. So I'll be straightening up.
Straightening up and training, maybe running along the beach, squirting slug juice everywhere in anticipation of rescuing more swooning maidens on escalators.
Perhaps, yeah. Well, it's a good thing I do my burpees every morning, which includes, push-ups. So that strength was in my arms more than a potato sack.
You never know what's going to happen, though. That training is really important because the life of a slug-based superhero, you never know what's going to happen. Have a great day, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Iberian FM. Here's a nice big round of applause for you. Go well, travel well back to Eddie. Sarah, lovely to talk to you this morning.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah. All right, mate. Bye for now. Oh my goodness, the talk of maypoles and that music. Oh, and it being what if you're a Beltane celebrating pagan, summer's here. We're well and truly into spring, aren't we? The sap is rising. Whew, blimey. I've got lead in my pencil and wind in my sails this morning, and taking your calls on 913 590 303 if you want to talk about that oikophobia thing. Yes, Pete, no problem. And let me just say that Pete, yes, has fantastically. Pete and Diane, thankfully, have come to our aid with the suggestion of tonight's booze, which is the Moscatel, the Stubal there. Let me just take that comment off the screen. Yeah, I haven't even set it up yet, Pete. We're a little bit laid back this morning, but as you can see there, you can get it at Lidl's. It is the Paso do Bispo, and it is a Moscatel that we'll be trying tonight. I think if we have a nice hot day, that'll be on ice, won't it? Or be chilled? Is that how you drink a Moscatel? We'll find out. So definitely looking forward to that tonight. A little bit different, not a red nor a white, but an orangey Moscatel from Stubal tonight. Join us at, let's go for 8 o'clock, shall we? With that, Pete, this evening. And we'll enjoy that. If you can't find that today, at the 24-hour Walmart, then bring whatever you can. Get as close as possible, and then we might be drinking the same thing, the Moscatel, for example. But if not, don't worry. You're very welcome to come, even if you don't have the exact same bottle in front of you to share and to talk about on the screen. That often happens with the wine club. It's just a great opportunity to hang out, talk about Portuguese booze, have a bit of a fun, and learn a little bit about the whichever speaker has chosen to present something, and in this case, Pete and Diane, and I'm sure they'll be talking a little bit about the backstory of this wine tonight. I will all share with you some more forthcoming attractions as well, but that's tonight. Paso do Bispo on the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club from 8 this evening. Before that, a Sharing Care Death Cafe will be getting together, not online, but just chatting behind the scenes and opening up about life, death, and anything in between, as we used to do with Jacqueline, everybody. Remember Donna Jacqueline? So life, death, and everything in between. Death Cafe from 7. Just get in touch with me, 913-590. The very same number for calling into the Iberian FM phone-in. Forthcoming attractions then later on this week on Wednesday, self-leadership, sovereignty, and dealing with disagreement. That's Andrew Bryant, who lives in Portugal and is a speaker, trainer, mentor in the world of personal development for at least a couple of decades. He'll be with us and talking about those themes. Isn't that interesting in the run-up to the coronation? Self-leadership, sovereignty, and dealing with disagreement. So maybe disagreeing with monarchists or Republicans in this instance. Is that someone sending me a message who may want to talk about oikophobia or not? What's that coming through? You're hearing that, I think, aren't you, through the Bluetooth there? Thank you very much for all the pictures. I hope we got to... No, we didn't. Here is Paul's breakfast that he was talking about. Boiled eggs. Where's the toast? Where are the soldiers to dip into those? And is that it looks like a German pint of lager there, or even something bigger than a pint there? Do you have boiled eggs and German lager for breakfast there in the Algarve? But that's officially, look at the color of that sky, everybody. And look at that beautiful garden. That is the Algarve, living the dream there. That's Paul Richards. And he'll be here on Thursday evening on the internet, taking Jerry Lawler on head-to-head in the next round of the best place to live in Portugal. It's the Algarve versus Central Portugal, folks, on Thursday. So tune in for that and the Dream Team thereafter at 9. Here on the Good Morning Portugal show, upcoming tomorrow evening at, I think, I'm hoping 9 is going to be fine for Raquel. Raquel has got a beautiful farm for sale in Portugal which we may talk about briefly tomorrow night, but I think we should have a special about that. She's got a beautiful property for sale. We'll talk to her about that. She is an expert in helping people start businesses in Portugal. And Stephen has a few ideas when it comes to what business you might start and investment opportunities. We'll talk to him at 9 o'clock tomorrow on our Hello America, This is Portugal program tomorrow evening. Later this week, then, Spain Revealed. We're talking to James Blick of Spain Revealed. Spain Revealed to Portugal on this occasion. And I will try not to mention the white asparagus when we talk to James Blick on Friday of this week. So lots to come. This as well on the 15th of May, this begins, 15th to 19th, 5 days of speakers, 45 of them. Get your free ticket. You'll see a few familiar faces there. Ali of Snapshot, who's a resident co-host here on the Good Morning Portugal, Ali Sheldrake, of course. And Snapshot has just been published today, the 1st of May edition. We've got a lovely spread in there. Careful where you put that staple, Ali. So, yeah, I'm talking at this. Ali is as well. I think Raquel's on this too. Portugal Plan, the virtual summit between the 15th and 19th. And I forgot to mention earlier on, I'll be doing where's the best place for you to live in Portugal, where I'm not going to give you a specific location, but I'm going to be talking to you about some of the decision-making processes that might be helpful in my slot on this illustrious gathering between the 15th and 19th of May. So, yes, we're into May, everybody, talking about evil spirits or oikophobia. And I'm going to give you my take on this evil spirit thing after we've had a look at a few of the comments that have come in. Just remember, says Antonio F., Moscatel wine is not a table wine. Don't be glugging that bad boy. Pete says it's an under-the-table one. So there you go. And much less chemically than martini. What's this? I've missed a bit here, haven't I? So Suze just wants to get an excuse to get the slug up to Ponte Lima. I do understand, having been there this weekend, Suze, why you loved Ponte Lima so much and why you're headed back there. Have I got some more pictures? I do. I have a picture of the Letreria Brewery there. That was fantastic. And a lovely pint of IPA there. And at the Women's Prison Cafe at Casa de Terra, we had this one as well. Tried at least two different. It sounds like it was a really boozy. It wasn't that boozy a weekend, but it was really great. And this at the Casa de Terra, the artisanal brew that we had there, Antonio F. might have something to say on this as well. That's the front of the label. And as you spin it round, you see this lady on the label as well. And we were trying to figure out, do you know why? I mean, I think there's a reference to the women's prison, of course, and that's why she has a manacle on her. Is that what it's called? Isn't it funny that a chain on a woman is called a manacle? She's done up for the evening, it would look like, or is that what women prisoners used to wear in Ponte Lima? I don't know. And she's wagging her finger. She is a comadre. Now, we thought that was something like a, what's the word, where you're escorted by an older lady. Can't remember that. And I can never remember this word. When you're taken out on a date, but you've got an escort with you to make sure there's no funny business. Is that a comadre? It's on the tip of my tongue, that word. I'm sure it is yours as well. Do let me know in the chat what that word is when you're being accompanied by another woman or an older woman when you're out on a date. It's quite an old-fashioned concept. But why is that woman wagging her finger? Is she one of those, whatever the word is that I can't think of right now, an escort of that kind? Or why is that woman manacled and waving her finger in the former women's prison of Ponte Lima? These are the Centurions. There'll be more about this. We've got 3 videos that we're going to pop up and a podcast addressing this thing about, is the cold north or not? I had a great chat with John down a country lane yesterday about that. But those are the Centurions, and John tells us that story on the podcast as well. Absolutely fantastic. And there's this character again, the Bon Camino greeting on the bridge there at Ponte Lima. Superb, excellent stuff. Yeah, and don't forget, 3rd of June, the Merry Men will be gathering, the Gumpers and women, if they're into the idea of a local derby, FA Cup final, Man City, Man United. There's going to be a gathering somewhere for that. We haven't decided the location yet, but we think it's a great idea to do so. Back to your comments then, before we talk about evil spirits. It's a chaperone. Of course, it's a chaperone. I was going to call it a chauvinist, but that's the other person there, isn't it? There might be a chauvinist there, and that's why there needs to be a chaperone as well. A comadre is a cummer or a bedpan. What is a cummer, for goodness sake, Antonio F? What is her significance then in society? this woman who's had this beer named after her as the comadre. What's that about? What's going on here? Why is this beer called a comadre? And what is a cummer, for goodness sakes? Okay, evil spirits then. I don't know if anyone's going to call in this morning, and it might be a little bit abstract, the idea I have for you this morning. But given that it is the 1st of May and yellow broom flowers are, or homes and cars maybe, or properties may be adorned with the yellow broom flowers to ward away evil spirits. I was thinking, it does seem rather quaint, doesn't it, that our ancestors, look at them putting flowers outside their house so the evil spirits don't come in. I don't mean in any way to be condescending or patronizing about that. I think we've got our hands full. It's like the evil spirits have changed. Pete, you had a comment, didn't you, about Donald Trump earlier on, and you were getting quite personal there, as you sometimes do, it has to be said, about... Oh, yeah, here you go. Here was your earlier comment when we were talking about first mentioning the idea of evil spirits. What is the significance of an evil spirit in 2023? If you mean Donald Trump, which I don't, evil spirits are definitely still around, but yet to see the US governed from a prison cell. Now, this is a really good example, Pete. Thank you for this. And we may talk about it more, of course, tonight whilst we're drinking Muscatel. The evil spirit, I would say, is, how do I put this? Is in us. See, the interesting thing for me in the olden days, and with this idea of broom adorning homes to keep evil spirits out, might it be? And it was very interesting what James said, I think, about evil spirits, or the as a metaphor anyway for the things that may lurk within the minds of people. The spot within the heavenly realm of being. There becomes an aberration that we are then. That gets our attention. That makes a lot of sense. And is it possible now, and you may want to call in on 913-590-303 about this, that the evil spirits are more a thing to be...
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Considered within a person these days rather than externally. We can personify, as Pete is doing now. We can get a sense of Pete's feelings and opinions and judgments about Donald Trump. But perhaps in our time, when we think we're so advanced and better, possibly, than our ancestors who used to put flowers outside their houses to keep evil spirits away, are we not living in a time where evil spirits are more of an internal challenge? Let me put it like that. Clearly, you could say that the man who shot 3 men and then killed himself in Stabal, and I don't mean to hijack that for, in any trite or... way that undermines the seriousness of that event. But as James said, they're clearly a very mentally unhealthy person who would think to do something like that. And in that moment, definitely possessed by what you might call an evil spirit. And I know this is triggering sort of language because it might put people in their feelings about religion and sin and these sorts of things. But bring it on, 913-590-303 if you want to talk about that. But I would say, using this as an example, because you put it forward, Pete, that there's something, this connects, doesn't it? I think to what we'll be talking about on Wednesday and what I attempted to talk about before I had the power cut last week. That what is it that is inside Pete here, for example? And I'm not talking about you, Pete. I mean, I'm talking with you as well. What is it that do you think is inside your mental landscape that the mere mention of me saying, what is an evil spirit? What happens that you just suddenly think of Donald Trump? Or what happens to you and many other people? Other trigger names are available. Tucker Carlson might be another one on the list I gave last week, Margaret Thatcher, etc., etc. And let's extend that to all of us because we've all got them. If a mere set of letters on a screen like that, a D, an O, an N, an A, an L, and a D, and a T, and an R, and a U, and an M, and a P, which suddenly sounds like a Sesame Street song, can cause you to change how you feel, is that not the evil spirit? So it's not the person you're projecting the idea of an evil spirit onto. The evil spirit is the thing that lives inside us, that when somebody's name is mentioned, it changes our mood completely. And you might say that the mood itself is the evil spirit. Now, in a time when we're supposed... furthermore, let me put this to you. In a time when we're supposed to be more intelligent than our ancestors who put flowers outside their houses, and the tradition still continues to ward away evil spirits, can we genuinely call ourselves more intelligent and look patronizingly or condescendingly upon the use of flowers to ward away evil spirits, when the mere mention of a name can have us lose our minds? Is that the behavior of an intelligent person? I would say not. But anyway, that notwithstanding, a comadre means a bedpan. So why is that woman? Why would you call a beer a bedpan? And why is there a woman chained up wagging her fingers? Maybe she needs a bedpan. I don't know. The evil spirits are the mass media who have brainwashed so many souls. But again, I would put to you, T-Duck, they can't. Their methods are useless unless there is the other side of the Velcro within us. Okay, how is it that there must be that if there's a mechanism by which we can be triggered by the mass media, by the mention of a certain name or certain types of people, isn't the evil spirit within us that bit of the Velcro? So as soon as the mass media leans towards you, well, with like, we know what's going to wind everybody up today. We'll talk about this group of people or that group of people, and we'll talk about the other people who are not like those people and their reaction to those people, and we'll get stirred up. The stirring up, the mechanism of the stirring up, and then the stirring up itself, the bad mood, the anger, isn't that the evil spirit? And any of us who can't see that happening, you might say, is prone or prey to the mass media and anyone who wants to stir that up within you. And it comes back to us, doesn't it, to do what James talks about, which is the notice, choose, and act. It's like, oh, whoa, somebody just said Donald Trump, and all of these reactions occurred within me. I was having a lovely day, and somebody said a name, and it upset me so much. I now am having less than on par relationships with myself and other people. That's weird, isn't it? That's strange. We are perhaps less intelligent than if that's possible and doable to you, me, and anyone else. Are we perhaps less intelligent than those we might think of as paganistic or primitive in some way? I suppose, says Pete, that there are so many parallels with my dad's teenage years in the 1930s. Trump and a fella from Austria both attempted coups and were virtually unpunished. And we faced the same economic depression as we did in the 1930s. So, okay, I get it then, Pete. Your projection onto Trump of your bad feelings is based in what you think he might do, and the resonances with the time in history that is obviously a highly emotional and difficult phenomenon for your family, and that's why that would occur. That's why that phenomenon would occur and be present in you. And in a way, is it not interesting? Well, I find it interesting that in a way he has triumphed already. If you are, and I don't know this for sure, but if you are triggered by Donald Trump and feelings of hatred are generated in you by the mere mention of the name, has he not succeeded in his and the agendas of other people of what you might see as a similar ilk? Let us see who that is calling in. I think we may have a Lord Gilchrist on the phone responding to this. And I'm not going to put you on the screen because you appear to be naked, Andrew. So let's just have your voice coming through for the time being. Did you not mean to do a video call? Hola, bom dia.
Don't put me on screen, please.
I can see why not. We'll have that as a little secret between you and me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Oh, I'll tell you what. I'm making an adjustment here.
I'm not naked. I'm just scantily dressed.
That's what they all say.
The temperature.
That's what they all say, mate. Anyway, let me see if this connection's any better. We'll do it through mobile hotspot instead of Wi-Fi, strangely enough, and see if we can hear you better. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
That's better. Okay, so go ahead. What do you want to say?
Right. Well, firstly, this oikophobia. I mean, it's not a bad kind of description. You could use it to maybe modify it for people that irk you, and call it an irkophobia.
Irkophobia, brilliant.
People that you get irked by.
Yes.
But oikophobia. I mean, I guess it was something I've just found while perusing the internet. And I was like, actually, I quite like that. As one who rejects one's own culture. But I mean, power and money tend to corrupt. Where you have corruption, you tend to have ill deeds, or you could even say evil deeds. We just have to look at what's happening in the east end of Europe and Russia to see the deeds that are happening there. I mean, again, I suspect that's all political power play. And unfortunately, if you've got absolute power, you've got absolute corruption.
Right. So are you saying that's the modern evil spirit of 2023, the people who behave in that way?
Oh, there's kind of a correlation between, big corp, big government, and a lot of things can be lobbied and bought around. You can sort of sidestep laws and lobby governments to get your own way. That surely again is just corruption.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that power. I still think that there needs to be some sort of backstop where no matter how much money or power you appear to have, that there'll be sort of some kind of institutional filter that goes, I don't care who you are or how much money you have.
Yes.
The law is the law. But unfortunately, that seems to be lacking in any sort of mechanism.
Right. Okay. And I'm struggling to see the connection with evil spirits here, but that's, I mean, you're making a more general point.
What do they call the root of all evil? It's money, isn't it? But money, power kind of go hand in hand.
Oh, I see. Okay, and these might be the evil spirits of our age. Is that
right, exactly.
deadly duo of money and power?
Because money corrupts. Absolute power is absolute corruption. But do you think any good comes from people with huge amounts of power individually? It's unlikely. I mean, you can think Bill Gates is a wonderful philanthropist.
Not that I do.
But, there's probably two sides to that story. I guarantee you that.
Yes. Okay. All right. Stay where you are, Andrew, because we've got a few comments coming through. And yeah, thank you for your backstory there, Pete. That really helps, Pete. There helps me. Perhaps the evil spirit is best personified by those who let ideology govern their automatic judgments of another's morality. Excellent point. Behind every evil spirit is a point of view. Well said, Sarah Taylor. Thank you for that. The evil are vile, the evil live. Yes, nice word plays there and anagrams. Just goofing around with those 4 letters at 2:23 a.m. Sometimes you can get the most amazing insights with sleep deprivation, Suze, as you and I both know. Aren't those triggering events based on past experiences? Yes, they are. That is my theory anyway, or one that I would subscribe to. Thank you, My Dog Smells. And you are always full of such wonderful Portuguese vocabulary. Bem-haja, that's from Pete to Antonio. Perhaps hyper-ideological judgments and statements are motivated by a bit of unkindness. Well, this is interesting, where you're taking the conversation with that, I would say, João de Nort. And I think I need your help here, Andrew, in just a moment with that. It's not hatred, says Pete. It is just that we have so much better information and access to it. yet the electorate appear just as naive as they were when propaganda was less disprovable. That's another thing I have a bit of a struggle with, is like protection of the others, which is based on a judgment about the others, and the naivety of other people, as if we don't struggle from that ourselves, possibly. All information derives from one bias or another. Being aware of that bias is the necessary skill to develop. And call me an optimistic cynic, or perhaps a cynical optimist, says Joel Denor, which I think is quite a good orientation in the times we're living through. Popularity shouldn't affect justice, but obviously to everyone it does. The fact that people are giving money to someone with a private jet, to them it shall be given. I guess you could say, if you wanted to use a Bible line there. Why does that happen, Andrew? Why do people give their money? You know, Trump's, for example, just using him as an example, you know, there's action figures. People were buying them. Were they NFTs? He created his own NFTs, and people were buying them.
Is that his own kind of portraiture or something, wasn't it? For his NFT.
Like a WWF figure, yes, yeah.
The thing I really love about Trump, which is not much at all, well, hardly nothing, is the fact that, I'm going to use a slight bad word, he's full of doo-doo, but, you know, he exudes so much confidence.
Right.
And I think people believe that absolute unwavering confidence is like, oh, he must be right. And it's like the whole crypto thing with Sam Bankman-Fried. Like, the guy was, you know, mooted by all and sundry. It's like, oh, he's the next, you know, I forget his name. One of the big sort of banking greats from history.
Yeah.
But, you know, it turns out that confidence was built upon nothing. When it all starts to go shaky.
And let's face it, the banking greats from history, and that was a Freudian slip, the banking gates, but the banking greats from history aren't exactly necessarily the nicest people we've ever known on this planet, are we? Talking of evil spirits.
Again, right.
Yeah.
Go back to my comments about money and power. So,
yeah.
So, but yeah, his kind of fortune, or his foretelling, has turned out to be more like one of Freddie Laker than you know, I don't know.
Freddie Laker, you might have to explain who that is, but I get the gist. The gist. You know, why do you think though that even though it would appear Donald Trump is wealthy, people poorer than him give him money? I think that's the point Pete is making here. But why shouldn't they? Why can't they do what they want with their own money? And if it makes them happy, why can't they do it? What's the big deal?
Well, they can, but there's that saying, you know, the old expression, "The fool and his money are soon parted."
Yeah.
But like anything, it's a confidence trick, you know, and that's why you have con men all around the world, because it's that whole mask of confidence. It's like, this guy knows what he's doing, or, you know, this guy.
We don't know that that's everybody's reason for doing it, do we? I mean, one wholesome way you might look at this is people give money to things they like, and if they like him, of course they give their money to him.
Yeah, and like in a free world, you should be able to do as you choose. If you want to give your wealth to a donkey sanctuary, then so be it. You know,
for example, yes,
random example. But if you want to give it to some politician, then okay, fair enough, your choice.
Absolutely. I mean, what do you make of this though? And sorry, go on, carry on.
I can't help think there's a slight elemental media brainwashing that's gone on. And people have been sold this, you know.
But who are these people? This fascinates me, and I made reference to it just now. But this protection of the others, the other people, what is this? What is this thing where other people have been brainwashed? And have you got examples?
No. I'm just saying it's a possibility with every con trick. You know, there's going to be like a pitch or a line or something, but. You know, Donald Trump has had the advantage of global media shining the lights of the cameras on him.
Yeah.
And then he stood up there, bold as brass, and pronounced what he's pronounced, like, nobody knows more about this than me. I'm the world's expert at this. And he said that about every subject I can remember.
But
you say the same thing often.
Okay, so
maybe people believe.
Let me decode this then. You like confidence in a man, but not when he's saying things you don't like.
Well, no, it's confidence is one thing.
Yeah.
It's a very human appealing, trait.
Yes.
But you've got to have it kind of like tempered with integrity. Otherwise, there's just nothing more apart from more than a big winning sales smile.
Yeah.
But I think you have to balance these kind of traits of human behavior with others, right? I think again, it's like you can't have good without evil, and vice versa. You can't have evil without good because you've got no yardstick.
Okay, well,
measure it from.
Here's the thing then. If that's true, which roughly speaking, I agree with you. It is that it is. There are some qualities that are nobler and more enriching and edifying for humans than there are others. So we can safely assume, mightn't we, that we might aspire towards those more ennobling and enriching ones, and get them in a better balance, and do what we can to stop this tendency, perhaps, or alter the aggrandizement of money and power for its own sake, and the effect that has. But how do you can only do that for yourself, can't you? You can't do that. You can't, what I'm hearing is that you want to stop other people doing it, but that's quite a long arc, isn't it? And clearly throughout history, quite a difficult thing to do, to stand in the way of madness, empowered by money and political power. So ultimately, it would seem the only place we could really do it is ourselves, isn't it? And I think that's what Sarah might be getting at here. The people that many deem evil, do those people believe they themselves are evil or not? Perhaps think not. But the point I was making this morning, and what I was interested in with this idea of evil spirits, given that it is May the 1st, is what really is the evil spirit. And if you can make yourself unhappy thinking about these things, is that not the evil spirit? So many of these things that I've heard you speak about are like, we're worried about what the effect somebody like Donald Trump might have on other people. But I'm interested in, does he make you unhappy when you think about him?
No, in fact, I tell you what, there was something I realized, a moment of clarity. Yeah. I was watching Full Metal Jacket this week, which is a great Stanley Kubrick, I believe, movie shot in the old Docklands of London, about the Marines going to Vietnam. I think it is, isn't it? Anyway, and they were marching along near the end, going MICKEY MOUSE, Mickey Mouse. Anyway, that you can replace that with Donald Trump. DONALD TRUMP. I can't even say.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean. Okay, you have to forgive me.
I should have.
Still a little bit.
Yes, you're
man down with.
You still got COVID and you're naked from the waist up. Look, you're in a vulnerable position. But what I'm really interested in talking about. Let me make it plainer then. Being unhappy is unintelligent. Shall I put it like that? Sorry, say again.
Personally, I don't pay it too much headspace. Right. Like if I've made my own opinion.
Yes.
Which of course everyone's allowed to form. If I've made my opinion and I think I don't want anyone like this to occupy my headspace, then I don't.
Quite.
That makes me happier. So I think there's lots that I don't allow to interrupt my headspace. Things like Tucker Carlson, don't care, or other people who have recently been shed from those agencies. Still not interested. The interest I have in US politics is
entertainment, I suspect.
Partially, but it's one of let's not forget, America has their hands on the world's biggest arsenal of weaponry and machines. I'd like to know the person who's commander in chief, right, isn't an unhinged lunatic, some swivel-eyed monster that's going to unleash Armageddon. That's my interest. That's the thing I'm really interested in.
Oh, I see. In a sort of primal gesture of male observation of the perimeter, making yourself safe.
I'd like Americans to use a bit more candor when they pick their head guy, right? Because I don't think Trump. maybe he had some good notions. Maybe he had some good ideas.
Yeah.
From my own impressions,
right.
I'm a bit meh about it.
I get that.
But
okay.
But then was Obama much better, or Bush before him?
Nah.
I mean, like I said, I think.
But let's not get started on. That's too much of a distraction, Andrew. If you don't mind me saying.
Right, but the headspace that I allow it to occupy is
yes.
Let's hope when the next year comes around, they don't put a swivel-eyed lunatic in the White House, basically.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. And what I'm more interested in is whether the evil spirit of the modern time is unhappiness and how we can undermine our joy. I think we've found, in the way that our ancestors thought the evil spirits were marching up and down the streets and putting broom outside your door might have been useful to ward them away. What is the modern equivalent? And I think it is these bogeymen that, as T-Duck has said, are being used by the mass media to destabilize and undermine people's health and well-being. And I'm putting it to you this morning that being unhappy is not an intelligent choice. Okay, now that could be quite triggering in itself. Let's see what other people have to say. Antonio F. Portugal was filled with propaganda during the dictatorship, as censorship only allowed for the official messages and favorable news. But even then, plenty of people were aware of the reality. And we spoke to somebody the other evening who actually thought it was better. He didn't actually say this, but he said, he was before the revolution, there was a sense of family. He worked as a mechanic in Coimbra. Before the revolution, there was a sense of family. After it, people started arguing about politics. It's a very interesting point of view, that. There are, says Pete, many examples. The wall that Trump didn't build, Brexit, do you need more? I don't know if we're still understanding each other here, Pete, because I'm not asking for examples of why you think Trump is bad or where politicians have let people down. There are loads of those. How about more spent on fraudulent claims during COVID than the UK defence budget, and yet no arrests, whilst a granny who misses her TV licence payment is jail? Yes, of course. Matt Hancock should be in jail for all his fraudulent claims. And I'll say that publicly. Rather than the granny who didn't pay her TV license. Sue says some evil people killers once caught say they know they should be locked up, or they know they will continue to kill, but seldom do they say why. That's chilling. Comedians after a successful gig say I killed it. Yeah. 1 in 3 women's criminal records in the UK are for not paying a TV license. My goodness, that's a dictatorship, isn't it, of a kind? And I'd like to see someone in the White House who doesn't start wars and support violence. Yeah. There's only been one occupant in the last century who met that standard. Interesting. So once they put the broom outside the door, it abated the fear. It was about fear management, wasn't it? A bit like turning your TV off, perhaps. Andrew, anything in that's stoked your interest or inspired you on this matter?
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely atypical of the UK, isn't it?
What?
One in 3 or females' criminal records are for non-payment of TV licenses.
Yeah,
unbelievable, isn't it? Why? I don't see how it's applicable, because who's ever signed a contract with the BBC?
Okay.
Did you sign a contract ever? I never did. So why would I, if I choose not to use their services, why would I have to have a license regardless?
Yes.
So I never signed a contract with them, and I never would. And I would encourage anyone to have a long, hard consider of that fact. Did you actually sign up for the BBC? Did you put pen to paper and go, I want this, sign, and make a payment? Because just because it's some legal thing, if you use live services or live terrestrial transmissions, you must have this license. But I mean, if you want to start peeling a can of worms open, look at the shocking, frivolous use of BBC money that they do. Things like first class air travel, hotels that they then don't use because they've changed their plans.
Well, have we just seen there? Have we seen there a really interesting illustration of what I'm trying to talk about? So Pete, for example, and as an example, mentions TV licenses. You've got a beef about TV licenses, and so the spirit, your spirits, your internal, let's use the spirits and sort of states of mind interchangeably here. And it's interesting that Tom should say Shirley. And on this occasion, I'm going to allow you to call me Shirley. All the evil spirits are internal. Emphasis on the word spirits. That is such a good point, Tom. You've been a little bit triggered there by the sound of it, Andrew, because you hear an injustice. And
well, it is an injustice. I mean,
I agree. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not an injustice. I'm looking at the mechanism that occurred there. You were not aware of TV licenses this morning until Pete mentioned it. Pete mentioned
the criminality of people versus non-payment.
Correct.
I mean, I don't see why non-payment should become a criminal matter.
Me neither. But the interesting thing is,
it's not what they call it. What's the other thing for criminal? It's like social matter, isn't it? Or
civil.
Thank you, civic matter.
Yeah.
And why isn't it a civic matter? It's only about some money.
Quite.
I find that disgusting. I really do. And if you think the UK is a free democracy, really think again, people, that it's not what they label and sell and project onto the world.
Yes.
If you really peel the lid off the UK, it's a big mess of problems.
Yeah, and I get that. I'm just fascinated how Pete was able to elicit disgust in you with the mention of a concept, and we're not even in the UK or anything like this. This is what I'm talking about. This is the dynamic I'm talking about, which I think is the modern evil spirits, if you like, is that all of these energies are at play, aren't they? You know, an example can be given. Somebody will pick up on a word, and I see it's happening in the chat now. You know, there'll be a mention of somebody, there'll be a mention of somebody else, and that triggers one person who then gets triggered back by another person. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. These, I think, are the evil spirits of our time, which, you know, we would see as somewhat quaint if we look at them historically. But because we haven't got our own presence of mind in our own time, we're not seeing how we're being manipulated necessarily, and how our state and mood can be changed entirely just by concepts and words.
Yeah, I know. It's a sad state of affairs, really. I think the thing that would trigger me on that is the injustice, right? For sure, I think it would anyone.
I think injustice it's a bit like spiders and snakes, isn't it? Injustice for human beings, especially if you've got some skin in the game from your childhood in some way, is a triggering matter. And what I think is fascinating about that is whether or not you can see that going on as a dynamic, which is was my talking point this morning. I don't want to shut you down or shut you up, Andrew. Let me give you a last word, and we'll go to a few of the comments in the chat as well.
Okay, have a great May Day Monday, everyone. The sun is shining in the capital.
Yeah,
I'm going to try and ingest more vitamin C and take some vitamin D, and some exercise, and please, everyone, if you want to ward off evil spirits, give me a surefire remedy to shake this cold/man flu.
I see what you did there.
Any step will be tried and gladly experimented with.
You should have
apart from any sort of
you should have had your booster.
Listen.
No, I'm joking. Don't. No, I didn't mean. Sorry, go on.
No, listen. It's got now to do with now, as Gary would say.
Right.
What booster?
Exactly. All right. Fair enough. Cheers, Andrew. If you can help him with his snotgate.
Any remedies? Any kind of like freeze a spoon and then stick it on your tongue? Anything weird and random, I'll try. I'm gladly. This is day 8 now.
He's that desperate.
Bored.
We hear your call.
Unwell.
We hear your call there. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
That would be much love to all. That would be my greatest.
Cheers, mate.
Well, prayer on today.
Have a good day. Keep out of the evil spirits that may catch hold of you, physical, mental, or whatever they be. All right.
Till tonight, some imbibement of more evil spirit.
Maybe
course,
see you at the wine club tonight. Yeah, okay, mate.
Muscatel.
Drop a muscatel. See you tonight for that. Cheers, mate. Bye for now. Cool. See ya. Bye. It is the civil, and put a shirt on. It is civil until the fine is not paid, at which point it becomes criminal. It is the poor who get convicted of crimes, whilst the wealthy, like Trump, can get away with it. Broom for everyone. Yes. or your equivalent. That'll do it. Yes, whatever. That will be my final word here. Is whatever it is that stirs the evil spirits within you. And I liked the cut of your jib, Tom West, this morning. It is an internal matter as far as I'm concerned. And wherever you can see yourself, wherever the evil spirits are coming in, and I saw it in myself yesterday and last evening. Do a bit of that James Holley stuff. Notice, choose, and act, rather than perhaps being on it too much, as it were, and attached to those evil spirits, because they will take you to horrible places. Bailed out by their parents, and then the state like Sunak. I think Pete will be back at 8 with gladly drinking some Moscatel after the direction of today's conversation, perhaps. We'll continue. Don't worry. If there are things you didn't understand with each other or there were misunderstandings, we will come back again and we'll try again with these. So I think a lot of these are points of order and little technicalities about what is being discussed, which I know is very difficult to do in a little chat box. Autonomous and unaccountable bureaucracies are what worries me. Yeah, me too. Most presidents become filthy rich while in office. I thought that was the whole point of, the richest person wins the American election, don't they? Isn't that an actual demonstrable principle? Only one president lost more than $1 billion while in office. Here to them that have it shall be given. No, I'm rocking shirtless, he says. Okay, fair enough. And get better, Andrew. Thanks a lot. Yeah, take it easy, mate. Some Gumper dust for you. And a very interesting, I thought, today, the evil spirits of 2023. What are they? I think we'll come back to that. We'll certainly touch upon it, I think, on Wednesday when we have the chat with Andrew Bryant about self-leadership, sovereignty, and dealing with disagreement. Yes, that's going to be useful, I think, isn't it, for our continued endeavour on this open-minded, open-hearted Iberian FM phone-in. Have a super day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Take care, bye for now. Have a wonderful May Day in whichever way you celebrate it, and do what you can to keep those evil spirits at bay. Ciao, ciao.
Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.